They laughed before they saw the patch. Not loudly, just the kind of low, careless chuckle shared between two men with authority, but no memory. The kind of laughter that never expected consequence. Staff Sergeant Elijah Boone shifted his weight at the checkpoint table, unzipping the duffel with the tip of his pen. He did not wear gloves. He did not ask permission. Beside him, Corporal Reyes watched with a smirk, arms folded across his vest. Place looks like it came out of a thrift store. Yeah, Boone replied. She does too. They had not asked for her name, just the badge, and even then they held it like it might stain. The woman stood still in the wind, jacket zipped, eyes forward, hands behind her back. Her boots were polished but old. Her hair was pinned low, like she had not updated the regulation since 2008. Her expression was unreadable, not defensive, not proud. Just present. As if she had outlived the part of herself that needed proving. Not on the manifest, Boone said, holding up the laminated card with 2 fingers. It had no rank, no clearance, just a faded barcode and a birth date that placed her well past retirement age. She did not respond. Behind her, the eastern sky turned gold with desert morning. Wind carried the sharp scent of aviation fuel and metal dust from the staging hangars. A pair of Blackhawks idled near the ridge, rotors ticking like old clocks. Nothing else moved. "Place your bag on the table," Reyes said. She obeyed. Not like a soldier, not like a guest, just like someone used to orders coming late. Boone opened the flap fully now, laying each item on the cold metal. 2 shirts, folded, socks, rolled, toothbrush. A spiral notebook, a dog-eared novel, a small tin of mints. Everything ordinary. Everything too careful. Then came the sound. A soft weight against canvas. He reached in again and pulled out a leather pouch, cracked, dark, bound with wire. No tag. No markings, handmade maybe, maybe not. "What's this?" She said nothing. Boone glanced at Reyes, then untied the pouch. What fell into his palm was not regulation. It was a coin, no, an insignia, small, triangular, darkened edges. 3 downward-pointing arrows etched into the center with a ring of static stars around them. No motto. No branch, just 6 digits burned along the rim like coordinates. Boone froze. Reyes stepped closer, face shifting. He had seen this before. Not in training. Not on base. In a photograph once. During a debrief, his CO had said never to mention again. "Put it back," Reyes whispered. Boone did not move. "Put it back." She reached forward, slowly, took the emblem from Boone's hand and tucked it back into the pouch like it was laundry. Behind them, the gate guard, MP Vasquez, stood straighter. His radio hand hovered mid-air. The scanner beeped once, green. No one said a word. She zipped her bag, slung it over one shoulder, walked forward. The gate opened. Inside Outpost Crow Ridge, the morning moved with the same rhythm as every other. Forklifts rattled across the motor pool, refuelers hissed by the flight line, and new recruits fumbled through gear checks under the indifferent eye of sleep-deprived sergeants. She moved through it like a ghost in her own skin. No salutes. No one stopped her. But eyes followed. One mechanic paused mid-torque. A lieutenant squinting through a clipboard lowered it without realizing. Even the base dogs stopped barking. Not because they knew her, because something about her presence told them they should have. In Hangar 9, Master Chief Grady stood with a wrench in hand and oil down both arms. He looked up once, saw her silhouette in the bay door's shadow, and forgot what bolt he had been tightening. She walked in without breaking stride. Her boots hit steel like punctuation. Short. Final. Grady opened his mouth, then closed it. She stopped near the edge of the maintenance pit. The lights above caught the outline beneath her sleeve, the leather bulge. The shape everyone tried not to see. And for the first time since 0630, someone spoke her name. Except it was not her name. It was her call sign. Echo 12? Her face did not change, but her voice finally came. Low, precise. "Where is Commander Brooks?" Grady hesitated, then pointed toward the Flight Ops Control mezzanine. She turned, and for the first time in over a decade, the deadliest operator to ever fly under a black budget walked toward the one place no one expected her to return to. Alive. Commander Brooks was already watching the feed before she entered. From the ops mezzanine, he had a perfect view of Hangar 9. The cameras were old, the angles grainy, but he saw what he needed. The way she moved, how people parted without understanding why. The air changed around her, like a pressure drop before a storm. She did not knock. The door to the operations control room opened on its own. A junior specialist reached for a protocol clipboard, then froze. She stepped inside. There were 6 men in the room. 1 woman, 2 contractors. None of them spoke. Not at first, not because of respect, but because no one had written a rule for this. Brooks turned slowly from the screen, older than she remembered, his hair thinner, face drawn by nights longer than duty required, still upright, still squared shoulders. But his voice faltered when he said her name. Commander Vale. It was not her rank anymore. It had not been for 11 years. "Do not call me that," she replied. He nodded. "Aaron, then." She said nothing. An analyst, Lieutenant Tran, tried to shift the air. "We were not told to expect a civilian audit this morning." "I am not here for audit," she said. Tran opened his mouth to object. Brooks lifted a single hand. "Clear the room." They hesitated. "I said clear it." One by one they filed out. Screens dimmed, conversations evaporated, doors closed. Now it was only them. He gestured toward the table. She remained standing. He studied her in silence. "You should not be here," he said at last. She nodded. "But you are." Another nod. He rubbed his eyes. "When the feed flagged the insignia, I thought it was a glitch." "A misread." "I wish it was." Brooks sat down heavily. "I buried that division, Aaron. You know I did." "You buried the paper trail," she corrected. "The trail is not the danger. What comes after is." She dropped the pouch on the table, opened it. The insignia stared back like a wound that refused to heal. Brooks stared at it, breath caught in his throat. "No one has touched that emblem since Echo 12 went dark," she finished. Brooks clenched his jaw. "I signed your discharge myself." "I know. I watched the hearings. So did I." "They erased your name." She met his eyes. "They tried." 22 floors below the control mezzanine, in a vault labeled Maint Exempt, 3 steel crates sat on reinforced concrete, bolted, coded, untouched since 2014. One had just blinked green. That blink did not trip an alarm, because nothing was wired to alert for ghosts. Back upstairs, Brooks tapped the console behind him. Brought up a file from an encrypted partition. It loaded slowly, then resolved into a single line of text. Active protocol. Echo wake. He stared at the words for several seconds, then looked back at her. "I thought this was decommissioned." She said nothing. He whispered it now, a word he had not dared say aloud in years. "Wraith." Aaron's face did not move. Brooks exhaled. "You were never supposed to come back." "I did not come back," she said. "I was reactivated." "By whom?" She reached into her jacket, pulled out a card. Not military, not government. Just white, unmarked, except for a small corner bearing a symbol in faint relief, 3 arrows, reversed. Mirror image of the emblem in her bag. He did not touch it. "I got that same card," he said softly. 2 months ago. Thought it was a threat. "It was," she replied. "Then why answer it?" "Because the signal went active last night." He stood. "You sure?" She nodded. "God help us." Outside the window, the desert sun burned clean and merciless above the flight apron. A training convoy rolled past in slow formation. From this height, everything seemed ordered, predictable. But below that surface, things had shifted. People whispered. Grady had already called his brother at the comms unit. Reyes, who had laughed at the gate, now sat alone in the security shack, reading an incident report he had filed with different words than he had lived. Boone, shaken, had made 3 calls from a private line. No one had answered. Inside the control room, the lights dimmed as Brooks keyed a private channel. "You are going to need access," he said. She nodded. "Clearance will trigger alerts." "Then do not clear me," she replied. "Just open the door." He stared at her. "You know what's still down there?" "I know what is missing." Brooks turned slowly to a steel drawer built into the desk. He pulled it open, reached past binders and keys. His hand trembled slightly when it came back holding a wristband. It was black. Matte. Plastic. But embedded in the underside was something else. Biosync. It only worked for one person. "You were not supposed to still match this," he said. She took it without flinching, slipped it over her wrist. The device lit up. Blue. Live. Brooks stared. "You still carry the protocol in your blood," he said. She looked at the wristband like it was a weapon. "No," she said. "I carry the memory of why it was needed." They walked in silence down the metal staircase. No salutes, no orders. Just wait. At the bottom, beyond the operations level, they reached a corridor that smelled of coolant and silence. Lights flickered every 10 paces. A keypad blinked red. Brooks scanned his thumb, then his retina. Then he stepped aside. She faced the door. Behind it was everything that had been sealed. Everything no one ever expected her to see again. She did not hesitate, and when it opened, the cold hit like a memory. The door sealed behind her with a finality that felt personal. Inside, the air was colder than it should have been. Climate stabilized, yes, but something else lingered. The chill of untouched metal, the breathlessness of forgotten machinery. A hum beneath the silence. Not sound, frequency. She walked slowly. The vault stretched long and narrow, its walls ribbed with blast sheeting. Every 6 feet, a reinforced cage stood sealed with triple locks, some holding old ordnance, some nothing at all. Near the far end, 3 storage bays sat under dim amber lights. The third was open. Brooks stood back, arms crossed, watching her. He had not been in this room for years. Not since the decommission. Not since they took her name off the registry and filed it beside a casualty list marked Incident Unresolved. She stepped toward the open bay. Her boots echoed. Inside, a single transport crate, shoulder height. Steel sides laser scored with a burn designation and 2 letters, E7. She pressed her palm against the biometric panel. It blinked. Green. The latch hissed open. And there it was, the command core. It looked like a wheel, thin, dark, etched with conductive circuits that pulsed softly beneath its surface. The control ring of a flight platform designed for a project they never admitted had existed. Echo 7. Night variant. She lifted it with both hands. No ceremony, no reverence. Just familiarity. You should not be able to lift that, Brooks said. She didn't answer. The core clicked softly into the recess of the transport sleeve on her back. The internal magnets aligned automatically, syncing to the band on her wrist. Live feed. Low power. Brooks rubbed his jaw. If they find out you activated that without orders, they won't. You're assuming this stays off books. It won't. He frowned. Then why? Because it has already begun. She turned toward the wall console and pulled a folded sheet of paper from her jacket. It wasn't printed. It was handwritten. She laid it flat on the steel table beside the vault cage. Brooks stepped closer. At first glance, it was a simple flight log. Dates, locations, time signatures. Then he saw the real data layered beneath. Signal handshakes, burst encryptions, and 3 coordinates circled in red ink. One of them was less than 120 miles west of the base. This transmission was intercepted? Yes. By who? Me. She tapped a point on the map. This one just went active again. Same interval pattern as Copenhagen. He swallowed. You're certain? She nodded. They stood in silence. The last time anyone had spoken that city's name in this room, 2 people had not come back. He ran a hand across the vault wall. The system you're chasing, it was supposed to be buried with us. Everything Echo touched was wiped. Not everything, she said. Not the platform. Brooks looked at the ring on her back. That's not a platform, that's a detonator. She looked at him. Then softly, depends who holds it. Back above, outside the vault, the base was waking up. The mess hall buzzed. Training squadrons jogged across the yard, weapons tucked high, cadence echoing through desert wind. It was just another day. Another schedule, another formation under the sun. But those who had seen her pass, the gate guards, the ops specialists, the hangar crew, were still quiet. Something had changed. One of the armory clerks checked her log and found a redacted access override. A transport mechanic reported seeing a flight ring being loaded, but there was no order logged. An officer in security requested video footage from Hangar 9. It was already erased. And then came the breach alert. Brooks's radio crackled. Control, this is Tower 4. Possible perimeter anomaly near Ridgegate West. Thermal picked up 2 heat signatures moving north to south along Access Road. He looked at her. She was already moving. He followed her out of the vault. The door sealed behind them. They took the back corridor, emerging on the side of the operations compound. The sun was now hard and white. Wind tugged at the flags. She reached into her jacket, pulled the emblem from the pouch, and slid it into the wristband socket. A soft tone confirmed it. Brooks stopped. What are you doing? She didn't turn. Bringing the system online. You don't have authorization. She looked over her shoulder. I wasn't asking. They reached the south maintenance pad in 3 minutes. A ground tech looked up, startled, and stepped aside. She climbed into the cab of a decommissioned tactical rover, a sand-scoured, low-profile recon vehicle marked expired. It roared to life on the second ignition. Wait, Brooks said, catching the door before it closed. If this is real, if Echo is live again, then they'll come for you. They already did, she said. And if you don't come back? She paused. Then bury it again? But this time, deeper. The door slammed shut. The rover peeled onto the access road, kicking dust into the pale sky. Brooks stood there for several seconds. Then looked down. In his hand, without realizing, he'd been gripping her old badge the entire time. The barcode still faded. But her name? It was starting to come back into focus. The desert swallowed sound the way memory swallows years. Her eyes scanned the ridgeline ahead, engine humming beneath her. The rover's suspension groaned with each turn along the unmarked access trail, tires biting gravel that had not seen traffic in weeks. Sunlight cut sharp through the cracked windshield, baking the dash, bleaching the world in silence. No radio, no orders, just a single signal pulsing once every 13 seconds from somewhere northwest of Ridge Gate, an encrypted burst she had once trained to recognize without thinking. Now it was thinking for her again. She flicked the display switch. Manual telemetry scrolled across the screen. No identifying tag, no source node, just ghost code. The kind used by relay buoys in denial corridors. Illicit, off-book. She traced the scatter pattern on the map with her finger. The origin was moving. That meant wheels. Or tracks. And that meant human hands. The worst kind. 20 minutes out, she dropped below a dry riverbed that had not seen water in 7 years. The air thinned with heat. The rover dashboard blinked low fuel, but she ignored it. Somewhere to the east, a training squad was doing live fire drills. To the west, the satellite corridor flickered open and shut like a breathing wound. She killed the engine. Stepped out. The silence hit her first. Not empty. Alert. She pulled the optics from the side pouch, scoped the horizon. Nothing. Then movement. A flicker behind a shallow rise. She crouched against the dune, adjusting her frame low to the sand. Heat shimmer distorted the distance, but the shape clarified with every second. 3 vehicles, spaced in convoy, matte-coated, dust-colored. Not military issue. Civilian chassis modified for range and quiet, built for transport. Not patrol. She recognized the lead truck model. She had driven its prototype years ago during a counter-exfil exercise off the Sinai border. It was fast. Heavy, shielded, but not invincible. She slid the rifle from its sleeve. A composite chassis. EMP calibrated. 3-round mag. Designed for disarmament, not kill shots. She locked the bolt. Steadied her breath. Watched the rear truck begin to angle off-road. "They're splitting," she whispered. Not to anyone. Just to the air. The kind of report you give yourself when no one else is listening. The convoy crested a hill and slowed. One figure stepped down from the middle vehicle. Dark fatigues. No markings. Wore gloves despite the heat. She watched his posture. Relaxed. Too relaxed. Not field-trained. Which meant he wasn't hired muscle. He was a controller. The kind who moves assets but never touches the product. She dialed the scope. His hand reached inside the cab, pulled something out. A small black cylinder, beacon shell. He tossed it. And everything changed. She exhaled slow. They were not transporting the beacon. They were deploying it, which meant the command signal would go active within minutes. The reactivation protocol would trip whatever hidden platform the device had been slaved to. Not a drone, not a flight core, a full integration package. Something far more dangerous than she had calculated. She pivoted, climbed back into the rover, sped east along a parallel cut, tracking the dust line from the rear vehicle. The tablet screen in her lap pinged twice. New handshake, new signature. Target was trying to send uplink. Too late. She veered right, took the drop hard. Sand kicked behind the tires. At 90 meters, she skidded to a stop behind a limestone outcrop. Slammed the door, moved fast, rifle in hand. Climbed to the ridge above the road. The rear truck was slowing. 2 men stepped out. Light arms, Kevlar, no helmets. They didn't see her. She aimed. First shot, EMP burst. Hit the driver square in the vest. His comms blinked. Rifle screen died. He froze. Second shot, lower right beneath the truck hood. The battery shivered, sparked. Ignition dead. Third shot, missed on purpose. A warning. The second man threw his weapon down. Good. She descended slow. Rifle steady. "Step away," she said, voice flat. The men obeyed. She reached the truck, scanned the cabin. 2 cases inside. One sealed. One cracked open. She opened the first. Empty. The second held a portable control node. Live. The LED blinked in sequence. Her sequence. They had accessed her old protocols, copied her access signature. Her heart slowed, not from panic, from recognition. This wasn't a breach. It was a replication. Someone was mimicking echo signatures to activate field systems, which meant she wasn't the last operative being used. She was the first. A test. The signal wasn't meant for her. It was meant to see if she'd answer, and she had. She looked up. The controller was gone. So was the lead truck. She cursed under breath. Grabbed the command node, shut it down. It pulsed once before going dark. Not enough. The transmission had already jumped. She turned back to the men. "Who sent you?" They looked at each other, then back at her, blank. "They didn't tell you?" she said. "Of course not." She stepped back, left them where they stood. Not worth the cost. As she climbed into the truck, her mind sharpened. They were bait. The real cargo had gone elsewhere. She opened the onboard GPS, skimmed the route history. Last transmission pinged near a freight yard 30 miles north. Underground, disused, abandoned on paper. But only ghosts ever really knew how to use dead maps. She slammed the door, started the engine. And as the truck rumbled to life, she whispered into the cabin, "Your move." The freight yard was marked condemned on every known map. The barbed wire fence surrounding it sagged from heat warping and time. The guard booth was empty. The access pad at the gate had been gutted, its wires stripped bare like an animal left too long in the sun. And yet the dust on the main access road had been disturbed, recent. Uneven. Tracks that did not match public records. Aaron rolled the truck forward, killed the lights, and coasted behind a rusted loading bay labeled Sector 3B. She stepped out into silence. This place was built before encryption protocols, before flight rings and ghost call signs. It was where things used to be buried, not for secrecy, but for shame. Platforms discontinued, weapons disavowed, people discarded. Her boots made no sound on the cracked concrete. The wind shifted, dragging the faint scent of coolant, engine grease, and something older, ozone, scorched once and sealed shut. She recognized it. A burn vault had been reopened. She passed a stack of corrugated containers, their serial codes scraped off, painted over with black squares, not military markings. Not even private contractors. Ghosts didn't brand their crates. She stopped. And waited. 5 seconds. 10. Then, there it was. A pressure change. Subtle. Precise. A low-frequency thrum beneath her boots. A ramp motor activating underground. She turned her head slightly and saw the outline. Camouflaged under a warped sheet of aluminum siding was a hatch, square. Flat, flush with the surface, almost invisible unless you had been trained to feel the air shift when pressurization changed. She knelt, ran her fingers along the edge, found the seam. Then the latch. It clicked, softly. And the ground opened. The stairs below angled tight, steep, built not for comfort but for defense. The light was dim, red-tinged. Far below, A single work light swung on a thick black cord, illuminating dust motes that moved like ash. She counted steps in silence. 17. 23:38. At the bottom, a reinforced tunnel stretched forward. Cables strung along the ceiling, fresh. A power source had been reconnected. Someone was building something. She moved forward slowly, body angled low, breath shallow. Each footfall matched the rhythm of the electrical pulse humming through the corridor. At the next turn, she stopped. A sound, metal on concrete. Then, voices. 2, maybe 3. She moved to the corner, pressed her shoulder against the wall, listened. Confirmed. She activated the ring, means she's engaged. Does Command want confirmation of intercept? Not yet. We hold position. Watch her. If she leads us to Site 0, we go, Site 0. A place no one mentioned aloud. A place that did not exist. Not unless you were Echo. Not unless you had survived the cull. Erin's throat dried. She stepped away from the wall. Silently. Made her way back to the corridor junction. If they were waiting for her to lead them to the platform, they had already won the first move. She needed to disappear again, before she became the signal they rode. Back at the surface, the hatch hissed closed behind her. She moved fast now, shifting between rusted cargo hulls, eyes high, weapon low. She knew the patterns of Overwatch, knew where eyes would be placed, knew where they would not, and yet she missed it. The flash of movement came from above. Left. A dark shape dropped from a gantry rail. She spun. Too late. The figure struck hard, shoulder first, knocking her backward into the gravel. Her rifle slid from her grip. She rolled, brought her boot up, kicked center mass. The attacker staggered. Not heavy. Fast. A woman. She caught her breath. The second swing came quick, a baton arcing for her temple. Erin ducked, swept low, caught the figure's ankle, pulled. The woman fell hard, groaned. Erin rose first, snatched the baton, reversed it, pressed it to the woman's throat. Neither moved. Then the attacker exhaled sharply. "You're real." Erin froze. The voice wasn't hostile. It was relieved. Erin stepped back. The woman rolled to her knees, raised both hands. "No orders, no kill shot. I needed to see you." "Who sent you?" Erin asked. "No one. I wasn't supposed to exist either." Silence. Then, she pulled her left sleeve down, revealed a mark. Faint. Worn. The same emblem. Echo, but fractured. Split along the seam, the 3 arrows cracked. Erin stared. The woman lowered her voice. "They started testing duplicates 2 years ago. Not just signals, operators. Memory templates. Your name kept surfacing in the black layer code. That's not possible. They built profiles from recovered footage, cross-referenced trauma imprints. It wasn't perfect, but they tried." "Why?" The woman looked up. Her eyes were tired. "You were the only one who completed the sequence, and they don't build new weapons anymore. They recycle old ones." A beat of wind pushed dust between them. Neither moved. Then Erin spoke, quiet and certain. "We're not weapons." The woman nodded. "Not to each other." Another pause. Erin picked up her rifle. Slung it. "Come with me." The woman stood. No salute. No introduction. Just 2 echoes walking into the dark, carrying the same scar. And somewhere beneath the freight yard, a signal that was never meant to be traced. Blinked once. Then vanished. They moved without words. Through dusk. Through wind, through the spaces between the maps. Erin drove. The other woman, call sign Lynx, she had said, kept her eyes on the ridgeline. No chatter, no report structure. Just instinct and the residue of training no one had acknowledged in a decade. By the time they reached the switchback cut into the southern cliffs, night had fallen. The road was gone, replaced by stone, sand, and a silence so dense it absorbed the engine's sound. They stopped just below the observation shelf. Killed the lights. Erin stepped out first, scoped the horizon. Her back moved like clockwork. Left, right, pause. Then a signal. Clear. Lynx joined her. Together they climbed. No spotlight tracked them. No sensor pinged. No drone hovered above, because no one was watching anymore. Everyone had stopped looking the day Echo was declared terminated. Everyone but the ones who survived it. The ridge overlooked a remote hollow below the northern perimeter of Fort Clark, a staging site that had never appeared in any base directory, but which Erin knew by memory, not because she had been stationed there, because she had once buried someone there. The hollow had changed. Where there had been nothing but dry concrete and unused barricades, there were now structures, low, rectangular, modular, too clean, too temporary, too deliberate. Like someone had built just enough to disappear again. Inside one of the structures, movement. Pale interior lights flickered. A loading rig shifted, and then she saw it. The crate. Unmarked, but not unfamiliar. Steel reinforced. Vibration sealed. One side scorched black. A single word painted on its upper right in stencil font, Raven Core. She exhaled slowly. Raven Core was not a platform. It was a repurposed kill switch interface. The final layer in Echo's autonomous weapons division, a program never activated because it had no safe test vector. It required one thing, a verified control host, an Echo signature. Erin's ring still pulsed with one. "They're going to use it," Lynx said. Erin didn't respond. "They've waited for years, but something changed. They're pushing it live. You showing up probably accelerated the timeline. They're not supposed to have the biometric keys." Lynx looked at her. "They do now." Below them, a group of technicians rolled the crate into an open bay. Two men in suits stood near the edge, one holding a tablet, the other pointing toward the uplink tower that loomed beyond the structure. A security perimeter lit up behind them, blue arcs pulsing faintly. And then the unthinkable happened. A third figure stepped into view, tall, trim, wearing a flight deck vest and standard army fatigues. But the face, Erin tensed. It was her face. Or a version of it, younger, smoother, mechanical in its posture. The movement was close, but not perfect, like a copy built from memory, but missing the weight of the years in between. Lynx exhaled. "They finished the replication cycle." "No," Erin said. "They just deployed it." They watched as the replica moved with precision, taking the command ring from the case, inserting it into the Raven Core panel. The biometric scanner accepted it. A green light blinked once, and Erin felt the air change. The same way it had when the platform first booted 10 years ago in a bunker 3 continents away. "You trained it," Lynx whispered. "No," Erin replied. "They trained it on me." She stepped back from the ridge, paced once. Her fingers curled around the receiver. Pulse steady, focus sharpening. "We need to intercept." Lynx frowned. "The replica's got clearance." "That's not what I'm after." "Then what?" "The crate. The core's only part of it. There's a secondary key buried in the housing. A latent bypass I installed without telling them. That unit can initiate Raven Core." "But not complete it," Lynx realized. Erin nodded. "Unless it finds you." They slid back down the ridge in silence. Time was bleeding now. Every second forward was another data packet sent, another piece of the real Aaron Vale encoded, sliced, mimicked. But a copy was not a mind. A copy did not remember, and memory was a weapon. Back at the vehicle, Aaron keyed a single line into her tablet. An old fail-safe, a diagnostic loop embedded deep in the core firmware of all Echo assets. It wasn't supposed to be triggered. But then again, neither was she. The screen pulsed blue. Signature mismatch. Silent asset live. Original node present. Lynx leaned over. What does that mean? Aaron's jaw tightened. It means she just realized I'm still alive. Across the desert, inside the staging hollow, the replica froze, tilted its head, then turned, scanning the horizon. And for the first time, the weapon they built looked confused. The hunt had begun, but not the one they planned. The compound was sealed within 10 minutes of the mismatch alert. Motion sensors went live. Ground locks hissed into place. Guard drones deployed in a silent arc, their movement cloaked, invisible to anything but infrared. But the target wasn't outside anymore. It was already inside the network. Aaron crouched in the shadow of a maintenance scaffold, one level below the Ravencore Bay. She had bypassed the perimeter fence with a kinetic pulse charge and walked straight into the blind spot she remembered installing 12 years ago. A side access route labeled Elev Con D, decommissioned, rusted shut, left off all schematics. But ghosts remember what blueprints forget. She signaled Lynx to hold position near the backup relay junction. No one could activate Ravencore without uplink sync. Kill the sync, stall the launch. Inside, the replica moved like clockwork. From above, Aaron watched her own face recalibrate. The way it studied panels. The way it scanned for hostiles with a 3-point scan pattern she hadn't used since 2013. The movements were perfect, but the timing was off. Just enough to betray it. It turned too quickly, looked too soon, anticipated too cleanly. This wasn't intuition. It was imitation. Aaron whispered into her mic. Test pattern 19. Lynx keyed the sequence remotely. The lights above the staging bay flickered. In a precise 5-beat cadence, a diagnostic loop meant only for Echo instructors. The replica blinked once, then turned slowly toward the source and spoke. Voice matched to 92% fidelity. Echo 12. You are not authorized. Aaron stepped forward into the light. Her boots made no sound. She said nothing. The replica lifted its head, calculated something. You are an unstable node. You were decommissioned. No answer. You have no current directive. Still nothing. Then Aaron spoke. Quiet. Measured. Directive is not the same as purpose. The replica tilted its head. Purpose has been redefined. A beat. No, Aaron said. It's been stolen. The crate at the center of the bay clicked open. Inside, the core pulsed with energy. Ravencore's heart, black and dormant, waiting for an uplink trigger. And next to it, something smaller. A disk, palm-sized. The failsafe. The part only Aaron had ever known existed. The replica took one step toward it. So did Aaron. The moment stretched. 2 identical figures. One remembered. One recalled. From the relay junction, Lynx whispered. Uplinks live. They're ready to launch it. Aaron's hand closed around her sidearm. She did not raise it. The replica watched her. Then, unexpected, it spoke again. I know you. No, you don't, Aaron said. I remember. You were programmed. I remember being you. That stopped her. The replica's tone didn't shift, but the pacing of its words did, slower, measured. As if it were not following a sequence, as if it were choosing. I remember the drop over Fallujah, the blackout over Sector 5, the crash, the heat, the pain. Aaron's chest tightened. No one had input that data. I remember the silence, when the comms died, when the base didn't call back, when the sky broke and I kept flying. She took one step closer. The replica did too. There's a difference, Aaron said. Prove it, the replica replied. A beat. Then Aaron stepped aside, revealed the second crate behind her, an older module, burnt, patched, cracked open down the side. Inside that box, she said, is the body of Operator Theta 9, the last one they tried before you. The replica froze. She continued. She remembered too, until she didn't. Silence. Then Aaron raised her arm, not to fire, but to reveal the band at her wrist. The difference between us is not memory. The replica blinked. It's choice. At the relay, links overrode the uplink sync. The launch key blinked amber. The system stalled. Aaron moved. So did the replica. They met at the crate. Fingers touched the failsafe at the same time. And something passed between them. Not voltage, not violence. Recognition. For one heartbeat, the copy hesitated, and Aaron whispered, "You don't have to be used." The replica's eyes flickered. Then, the lights cut out. An alarm screamed across the base. Heavy boots echoed from the far corridor. Black-clad operators stormed the platform level, but by the time they reached the bay, it was empty. Crates cracked. Core missing, the uplink tower burning, and 2 footprints fading into the dust. 30 miles west, beneath the lip of a forgotten canyon shelf, a low-mod signature moved through darkness. 2 women. 1 real. 1 made. But both walking away from a war that refused to end, unless someone chose not to continue it. And in the replica's hand, not a weapon, but a notebook, with Aaron's handwriting, and on the first page, in faint ink, a single phrase: "You were never meant to be a tool. You were meant to remember." The desert changed after dawn, not in color, in silence. It was the kind of stillness that follows a question no one wants answered. A quiet so thick it made radios falter and patrol dogs pace without reason. Back at Fort Clark, the base was operational. Technically, generators hummed. Morning drills resumed. Reports were filed. Damage assessments began. But nothing sounded right. Voices stayed hushed. Orders came slower. People stepped around certain spaces like they remembered something they were not supposed to. Because the Raven Core launch had failed. Because someone had walked out of the system that built her and turned it off. Not with a weapon, with a whisper. 3 days later, Aaron Vale stood alone beneath the wreckage of Hangar C-12. It had burned in the confusion. Whether by sabotage, friendly fire, or self-destruction, no one claimed responsibility. She did not wear a uniform. Her boots were old. Her coat was civilian. But her posture was unchanged. At her feet sat a duffel bag. Inside, the ring. The last core, the failsafe, scorched but intact. And one other item, a sealed envelope. Addressed not to the Department of Defense, but to a name no longer in the system. Commander Brooks. She set the envelope on the scorched threshold, walked away without a backward glance. And from behind the fencing, 3 soldiers watched in silence. None of them saluted, but one of them, a young recruit with sand still caked in his boots, stood just a little straighter after she passed. He did not know her name, but something in his gut told him he should. Far west, Across the state line and deep into protected land, a single aircraft hangar had reopened for the first time in 13 years. No manifest, no flight log, just a single infrared beacon triggered by an old echo ring. Inside, the replica stood at the edge of the launch platform. She had changed. The way she held herself. The way she read the world, not like software running instructions, like memory learning to breathe. She held the notebook in one hand. On the last page, written in the same hand as all the others, "Ghosts aren't haunted. They haunt because someone left them behind." She looked at the horizon, then powered up the module, not to launch, but to erase the uplink that created her. And in that moment, deletion became liberation. A system was shut down from the inside, by the very thing it tried to clone. Somewhere east, in a diner with cracked leather booths and sun-blasted windows, Erin sipped coffee that tasted like rust and desert heat. Her hair was shorter now. Her ring was gone. Not destroyed, just hidden. She had no badge. No clearance, no chain of command, but she had her name. Not printed, spoken. When the waitress refilled her cup, she smiled. "You military?" the woman asked, nodding at the way Erin sat. "No," Erin said after a moment. "Not anymore." "Well, thanks anyway." For whatever it was. Erin nodded. The woman walked away, and for the first time in years, Erin didn't correct her. She sat back, closed her eyes, and let the morning pass without permission. At the far edge of Fort Clark, in a records building set for demolition, a technician reviewed final clearance logs. He paused, scrolled back. One entry blinked, not red, not green, just gray. Asset tag, Echo 12. Status, legacy declassified. Final notation, silence does not mean forgotten. The technician frowned. Who the hell is Echo 12? His supervisor didn't look up. Someone we let walk out and never stopped talking about. The log cleared, the screen dimmed. And far out in the desert, as wind curled over rock and ash, a single contrail faded into sky. No signature, no call sign. Just a memory the world didn't earn, but will never lose again. The last call sign, Wraith.